Yeah, when we are done.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Andrew.
There you go, Andrew.
Right.
And we have 3 more minutes, but we wanted to be sure that we
But
have.
where's the gentleman, Emeka?
Who?
Sorry, Andrew. Where's the other gentleman joining us?
Should be joining.
Yeah. Because he has to join through this side. If he goes through live,
Yes.
he cannot be able to contribute. Yeah.
Yeah, it won't walk through live. Did you send him the link so that he can use that? Then I could see the Andrew is just coming in on live now.
Oh.
Andrew,
yeah, there's the lag.
Yeah, we have 2 screens, right? Where there's one that has a lag. That's the real live from YouTube. So it's fine here, but on YouTube it's really, really different. It's like a minute. Oh my goodness. Okay.
Emeka, can you enable me to share the screen just to test?
Yeah, share your screen. Yeah, you should be. All right, try it.
Excellent. Great, thanks.
So we're about to start in 1 minute.
I will be on mute most of the time unless I need to contribute.
Okay.
All right.
Hey, okay, good.
All right. Well, are you guys ready?
Yep.
All right. So good morning, everyone in the United States, and good evening from those in Africa. So today we have a special guest, Mr. Andrew Kibe, and he's going to talk to us about his dream humanitarian work he has going on. Mr. Andrew is in Kenya, Nairobi, Kenya, and he is, you know what, I'll just let him do his introduction. Mr. Andrew, please go ahead.
Yeah. All right. Thanks so much, Emeka. Good morning, everyone. I believe it's morning right there. Thank you for this opportunity to actually speak to all members of African Exports. As you've heard, my name is Andrew Kibe. I'm a Kenyan residing in Kenya. So today I just want to walk you around an initiative I came up with, and it's just one of the many that we intend to do going forward. So the name I gave it is basically the Humanitarian Responsibility Initiative. That's the NGO, the name of the NGO will be setting up, but then it runs under the name of Dreamers Club Africa. So if you look at the name itself, it basically tells you that we are basically looking at Africans, and we're trying to change the mindset so that they're able to dream. And by virtue of that dreaming, then we're setting ourselves to be a bit different from the norm. And that's where the club comes in. So why did I use the name HRI, or the Humanitarian Responsibility Initiative? Just a moment, just give me a second, please. Sorry about that. So in the context of the humanitarian responsibility, it's very similar to what we refer to as charity. So when you think about charity, what comes to people's mind is there's a problem that needs to be addressed. And that is quite okay with that. But then the understanding of the power of words from a psychological point of view, the word charity has been used so much in Africa to a point that most people are not even aware of how damaging it becomes to us, because the notion of the driving force in the subconscious mind is you're begging for something. So it eludes you to feel that you need other people to actually solve that problem which you've actually identified. For example, in Kenya, anytime you watch the news, you'll always hear people saying, we are begging the government to do this, we're begging. So it reduces people without their knowing to always be begging for things. And that is why I decided I was not going to use the charity for these initiatives I want to do. So I coined the word HRI from the scriptures, where in all books of religion talk about a higher power that created us as humans. And then the higher power gave us the dominion, which means the responsibility over everything else that he or she created. So that is how HRI came into being. So very similar to charity, we actually identify a problem. So I'm not really going to talk so much about that. So that's what we call the first pillar. We identify a major problem. Now, the second pillar of HRI under Dreamers is where we say we do not want people to come and build that solution for ourselves. We want to build that solutions ourselves. So how do we do this? We accept support, we accept expertise and all that, but we want to learn to solve our very own problem. And this is where now Dreamers and the African experts come, because the heart of the African experts is also solving our very own problems. So in the context of that, I studied and realized how psychology is used to actually keep a lot of people sort of enslaved, what Bob Marley refers to as mental slavery. So the concept I came up with is we are going to form clubs in all education institutions, so from primary, high school, and also tertiary. And then we form a club called Dreamers there. And these children are the ones who are going to be the faces that actually drive the solutions to solving this problem. So the people you'll be seeing solving these problems are basically tertiary, high school, and primary children. Now, for them to do that, they need knowledge, they need skills, they need experience, and they also need mentorship. And this is where you can see the whole idea of partnerships coming in. So we drive them through the right knowledge, through partnerships and all that. If there's skills that are quite required, we bring expertise to walk them through the whole process to gain that skills. We walk them through the entire experience for them to actually, just like any skill requires time to build up, then irrespective of where the initiative is, we bring expertise in those ones to mentor them. And the whole idea is just making sure that we work with them through the entire process so that they end up becoming producers. We are talking about creating mindsets of entrepreneurs, not people who are just consuming and begging for things. So again, you can see where the partnerships comes into play. So once they're able to come up with the solutions of solving this problem, and it's not going to be a competition, unlike school teaches us to always compare ourselves with others, we are reversing this thing to tell them that we need to cooperate to actually solve this problem. So it has nothing to do with someone else. It's about bringing the little skills you have and knowledge and putting them all together in one basket to actually come up with something unique that can solve this problem and ensure that it's sustainable. So once we come with that, then it's about raising the capital. Again, when it comes to capital, it's about partnership and also walking them through the knowledge of investments. That there are certain things we can do on our own to actually raise that capital. So that process goes on and on. Then finally, we're talking about a platform where we can actually place them. And the idea about this platform was basically for them to start appreciating the entire process. If you look at the world today, people want results today. Procrastination has become something so big, and people blame other things other than themselves. In Africa, again, this thing of unemployment is making people believe that they can actually just become rich overnight because of what they see around with our politicians and all that. So our children are losing the sense of how nature was built. Everything takes time. And we need to start walking them through this process and focusing mainly on the pain points, especially where we fail, so that we turn their minds to understand that anytime you fail in life, you should not be focusing on complaining. Rather, you should be looking at the lessons you're supposed to draw from that, because the lessons coming out of that painful experience actually empowers you to move forward towards the goal that you're driving towards too. So there's a mobile app we're building. We're actually halfway. We got stuck because of funds, but hopefully by the end of this year, it should be up and running. And it's called HRI. So let's start off by looking at the main problem that we're starting with in this partnership. So Kenya is going to be the pilot phase. And once we get this thing right, the idea is to expand it to other African countries. And remember, the people who are solving this problem are not adults. We just want the faces of kids doing these things. The power of this is those who are outside will start noticing how those who are inside are starting to, the life that is changing to them. And that is going to draw them over to want to be part of this. So this is a way that we can start changing our mindset from an African point of view to start solving our very own problems. So like I mentioned, we're picking the primary, high school, and tertiary, and then walking them through the entire processes for them to appreciate and also have fun at the same time. So in Kenya, the problem we identified is that there are so many children who are disabled, and unfortunately, they're not able to attend school because the families cannot afford to actually buy them a wheelchair. And I have quite a number of examples of children I've come across this, and it's something very hurting to imagine. I mean, just place yourself in their shoe. During holidays, they're picked up from their homes, they're taken outside, they're watching other kids play, and they can't play. Then when schools open, they're taken back. They can't be taken outside to play because all other kids in school. So they just spend the entire time on their bed. Just place yourself in that shoe and you'll realize what these kids go through. So imagine if you're given that opportunity of making a difference and actually getting them a wheelchair, where now, even if they can just contribute a little bit of playing and actually going to school, how impactful that can be. So that is the driving factor of why we decided to do this. Now, in the context of solving the problem, we also want to align our solutions to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. And so this initiative of the wheelchairs is actually drawing from these 6. So the first one is good health and well-being. You can just think about the difference of the mindset if they're able to access this, if they're able to access this school. Just think of the psychological difference that this will make to them. Second, they're able to attend schools. So that's quality education on that. And then remember, in Africa, in this partnership, we will also in the future create whereby we have online programs where they can start even learning other life skills that are not covered in our curriculums, and specifically things to do with money, entrepreneurship, and investments from a very, very young age. Of course, goal 10 is reducing the inequality, which is now that spouse I was talking about, whereby they end up being left in the house during holidays, and that really creates that gap of inequality. Number 1 is no poverty. We're talking about poverty. Does that mean if they go to school, then they earn? No, at least it's a step forward. That's why now this education part comes in, whereby we intend to empower their minds to really think, because there's no difference between them and us. It's just that our society has created that thought process that they're different, but they're not different. So for instance, I look at Kenya since I was a kid, and any person who's trying to empower these people, the best thing I see them doing is creating a wheelchair with some sort of areas where they can actually sell things like sweets, and ask myself, why do we limit them to believe in such small things? Why can't we train them to become AI experts, programmers, and things like those ones? Just because they're not able to move, it doesn't mean their minds is limited. And so this is the difference we're coming to bring in these partnerships. And so Goal 17 partnerships, which is exactly what we're currently doing. And then when we do that, of course, you can see it's going to end up with sustainable communities and cities as well. So how do we solve this? Or what is the approach of solving this? So something interesting happened. When I came up with this idea, I went to a university called Kenyatta University in Nairobi, and I formed this club I'm talking about called Dreamers. And I got the first students, and we started now the discussion around what I intended to do with them. And once I identified this problem, I told them we need to actually look for engineering students, for starters, who we can bring on board, and let's sit down and, cooperate to come up with something very unique that no one has thought about. Now, as I was talking about this student is brought on a wheelchair, and I'm looking at him, and he's put on the side, and I welcomed him when I was doing the presentation, and I went ahead and I talked, and I really talked about it. Then when I finished, I told them, now I'd like you to get me these students the next time I come. And someone stands up and tells me, you don't need to do that, Andrew. And I say, why is that? And he says, everything you've been talking about, the person you're seeing on the wheelchair here has actually done it. So I turn and I look at him and I say, what do you mean? So he gives me a story. It turns out that I think when you're 6 years old, he had an accident. And from that time, he's been on a wheelchair to this day. His name is Anthony Mundia. And he tells me about the challenges that he has faced from the time you're 6 years to the age where he's currently. And he tells me he was so driven by those frustrations to a point where he started designing his own wheelchairs in a way that they could actually combat the African environment. And so as I'm listening to him, if you never believed on a higher power, that's the time you really get to say this, because it cut short all these things that I was trying to do. And so from that time, we became very good friends, and we started moving forward. He informed me that he had actually partnered with one of the lecturers in the Department of Disability there. I went, I met him, we discussed, and we agreed. So unfortunately, the funds I was trying to follow to set this thing up did not materialize. And it kept going on because I was trying to work with the county governments back here. Then when Emeka reached me with Sylvester and they told me they wanted to onboard me as an executive of the African exports, they came up with this, we would like you to basically be responsible for everything in Africa. So outside the nursing program and the teachers program, this idea came to my mind. I thought, let me share this with them. Probably these are the right people I should go for. And so when I shared this, they actually felt the impact of it, of what it could do. And so we agreed that next year we'll be running these two concurrently. So as I speak to you right now, that young man was actually kicked out of that company by that professor. So sort of he stole the ideas, the designs he had come up with, and he just ended up hustling outside there. So picture that frustration. Getting a job is difficult. Even moving around is difficult. So he's ended up setting up something small that he's trying to feed himself with. And so when I reconnected back with him and I told him about the African experts, he was quite excited. And today I'm going to give him, let's say 3 minutes just to speak to you, share what he's been through so that you can see the impact around what we're trying to do here. So the faces of this, now, like I said, one end of the charity is solving. Now, this other end, the pillar 2, the faces of this specific one is actually Anthony and his team. And the idea is to make sure that they set up this company, we mentor them, we protect them. We can get people like lawyers who are very good here just to give that advice to them so that anything they do, these sharks outside here cannot come and interfere with that process. Once they get it right, they can start expanding to other African countries. They can start exporting. I want you to imagine these children in the next 5 years having a company that has employed about 10,000 Africans across different African countries. How will that make you feel looking back at 5 years when I was giving this presentation to you? So that's the phase. And I mean, once they get that right, I can guarantee you for a fact it's going to motivate a lot of young people to realize that they too can do it. Because our education system is really messed up. And this is something most people do not want to accept. It's structured to teach us what to think instead of how. And they started by telling us that A is for apple. So it fixes your mind, it narrows it to a certain point instead of expanding. So if these kids can get it right, it's going to trigger others to feel like I can also do that. And that is how we're going to start this trajectory. So the second part, where does the knowledge, skill, experience, and mentorship come in? This is where now again the partnership between us comes there. So all our programs, they will have to go through a training of one psychology because they need to understand how they're limited in their beliefs. Then from there, we'll walk them through financial wellness, not what financial literacy teaches outside there, making people focus on savings and putting their money in formal investments. Money is made in the informal, not formal, because in the formal, you have no control. The government can decide even to pull out. But in the informal, you have so much control. Then entrepreneurship, the same thing, we do the same thing. Then in between, we bring in a lot of expertise to help them in whatever field so that they actually end up being the best of who they can be together. So in this aspect, when it comes to the third part of capital, I will be explaining how this will simply work. So there'll be a couple of phases. The first one, because now it's been reduced to start from scratch, is to actually look for, let's say, 1 or 2 children. We build a prototype. So once that prototype is ready, we take it to the government. Once the government approves it, setting up of the company comes at that point. And then these wheelchairs, we're not just building for the sake of building to showcase. We actually want to get kids who are going to benefit once we are done with this prototype. So we want to identify 1 or 2, then we'll travel there and actually get to do the measurements of what's required, because each wheelchair will be created uniquely, specifically for that person, not just creating one that is general for all. So there are certain measurements that require to be taken out, and then it's built from there. So here, that's why we're bringing in a lot of well-wishers, sponsors, those people who feel touched in this. We want to bring skilled people who can also put in input. We work as a team, not competing, but cooperating, because if we get this thing right, it's going to be a game changer in the entire African continent. That's a guarantee I'm giving you. Then finally, we have this platform, which is the HRI app. So how does this app work? So in this context, you can see these are those who are good in IT. We call these ones the first phases of it. So you can see we're talking about the Dreamers Club Africa, emphasizing on that, the humanitarian responsibility. And we're trying to push the notion we should stop telling these children that they can't, they can't, they can't. We want to show them that they can. And the third one, you can see this child here represents primary, this one represents high school, and this one represents tertiary. Then the final part is where we have the partnership now. So what will happen is once we get this right, we have structured the mobile app in such a way that any person in any county in Kenya who knows a child who requires a wheelchair because of the financial constraints of the family, they will be able to apply. And once it comes to our offices, we are going to do due diligence to ensure that that case is genuine. And once we confirm that that case is genuine, we are going to release that to the app. So that's what we're going to do on our end. Then any person in the world can actually come into this app and go to any county and randomly select any child they want to sponsor. So if let's say there's a Kenyan there who comes from a county like Kisii and you want to sponsor someone from Kisii, you're just going to go in Kenya, go to County Kisii, you're going to pick a number of students, a number of children there. There's going to be a little bit of bio about them, contacts if you want to reach the family direct. so that you get a small history about this child so that it can help you connect to them. So once you sponsor this child, automatically the money will be wired to the bank account of the company Kinamundi are going to create. Then immediately it allows them to start building the wheelchair. And you'll be in a position to track how the development of it is until the end when it's ready for to be developed, to be deployed to the child. If you wish, your name can be engraved on that wheelchair so that you create that special connection with that child. If you wish, you can fly over to come and hand over that wheelchair yourself. It will be open to anyone who wishes to do that. If you're not able to, we're going to come up with those of how we can do this streaming. We can also take photos and videos and share with you so that you're able to see the kind of change that you've done that. And if you wish, you can just be following up on how that child is proceeding on and so forth. So at the end of the day, what's going to happen is on the 3rd of December every year, we celebrate what we call People with Disability Day. I believe that is in about 3 days' time from where we are in Kenya. So our goal is by next year, the likes of Emeka and Sylvester, your holidays for next year, I'll recommend you come around that time because we want to create a very big event whereby we can start showcasing the differences we've made. You can even bring investors where those who've gone through this training can come and actually pitch and surprise the whole world with kind of ideas that they have and really prove that disability is not inability. So those are the thought process we are thinking about on that context. So that is the gentleman I was talking about. His name is Anthony. And on the right-hand side is one of those wheelchairs that he designed, which is very custom-made for the African environment. This is just one of the menus. And I'm going to mention something after this. I just want to give him like 3 minutes to speak to you people. You can get to hear from the horse's mouth. Anthony, over to you.
Hello everyone. Hope you can hear me. So my name is Anthony, and yeah, I graduated from Kenyatta University last year with a bachelor's degree in records management and information technology.
Anthony, are
Yes,
you in a
yes.
position to turn on your camera? Because otherwise you won't appear on the YouTube side.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
A minute. There you go. Yeah, this is Anthony. I'm the one who designed this wheelchair, and as you have heard, what inspired me to start researching on wheelchairs is the difficult that I went through trying to find a wheelchair that I can use in my daily life, to hang out with friends, to go to classes, and all that kind of stuff. But during the process, I came to find out that most of the wheelchairs that are in the market today, in our African market, they range from 150,000 Kenyan shillings, which is quite a lot of money, and that's not many families that can afford those wheelchairs, and they are essential things that we need in our daily lives. So if someone could come up with an idea that we can use locally found materials to develop a wheelchair that is, first of all, they have to follow the 3 things. One, the wheelchair has to be affordable. It has to be there. This will ensure that every parent and every student and every user can afford their wheelchair. The next thing is the wheelchair has to be accommodative to our environment. Since you understand that our environment, most of the places are not well built in terms of terrains, we need a wheelchair that can handle those rocky places without damaging. And then we need a wheelchair that is aesthetically pleasing, a wheelchair that is beautiful. A wheelchair is like a part of us as wheelchair users. When we have a good wheelchair, it's like having a good suit. So when you have a good wheelchair, that means your esteem will be uplifted. You will feel empowered. You'll be able to have the motive to do a lot of stuff and to get engaged in so many community activities. And those were the things that inspired me to come up with this design. Yeah, that's all for now.
All right, thanks, Anthony. I'll let you stay on in case people have any questions for you at the end when I finish my presentation. They can ask you, yeah? Okay. So you've heard Anthony, and I don't know whether people have picked something about him. He has elevated to a point of confidence. You can't even tell he's on a wheelchair, all right? Now, what I want you to see now is that I want to show you a case I've received today. I want you to read this, right? Good afternoon, okay? May I brief you on the outcome of one of the two cases? From the one engaged with, she is a girl by the name of Prudence Wanyonyi from Bungoma. She is under the care of her grandmother. She was born with the condition. The legs, hands, and the neck cannot move. She can't do anything for herself, though intellectually she is okay. Due to the above, she can't go to school. Thank you. I received this just in the afternoon. I have another case where a child was playing with other friends, just like Anthony talked about, and someone was cutting the trees. And the uncle was telling them, move out of there, that tree can fall on you. You know, the kids move on the side, then they quickly forget. And unfortunately, when the person finished and the tree was coming down, the niece was actually under there and it actually crashed her back. She stayed in hospital for 10 good years. That's a case I have. 10 good years in the hospital bed.
10 years or days?
10 years. Oh, yes. Yes.
Okay.
And so when I met this person, it was actually 4 months when she had left the hospital. And so when you hear Anthony talking about the psychology of what they go through, I want you to imagine now what those kids are going through. And no one is paying attention to this. And that's why I talked about identifying grave problems. And ours not just to solve and make a big difference to those problems, but in the process, we empower the young people to actually become problem solvers. If we can build this momentum across Africa, I can assure you that with no time, we will start fixing our very own problem. It's about changing the mindset that has been going on, all right? Now, one of the things I want to mention about Anthony, he's been involved in about 3 competitions, trying to just design wheelchairs locally, and he has won all of them. That is because of the drive that he has in him. So it's unfortunate that the lecturer took advantage of him, but that's okay. That's how life is. We learn through that. So I know through this partnership, that lecturer is going to come back to look for him. That one I know for a fact. Because the moment we release this app, it's going to go viral. I can foresee people from different parts of the world wanting to make a difference. I was talking to Emeka and Sylvester a couple of days ago, and you're sharing with us about this experience about a certain initiative of water. So we have some Australians who are moving around Africa trying to build, water projects, building toilets. And there's this toilet they're building in Uganda, if I recall well. And it's them who are coming from Australia to dig even the holes and build it. I mean, what do we do for ourselves? And at the end of the day, we had this, I think is the chairman of that community, was really thanking them as if, I understand where it's coming from, but it also shows you how our minds are so blind to a point where we can't even see we have the potential of solving our very own problem. And all this, trust me, is coming from the school education system. That is why a big part of what we do is educating, because we need to change that mindset so that they're able to start seeing that these things are doable for themselves. It is actually the main reason why I too actually left employment, because I just could not take what I learned all over the years. I just realized how the system is all about. So in the end, then what is my proposal on the way forward? Number one, like I mentioned, we need to obtain consent from a few of the children. And right now, what I have in mind is that child from Bungoma we heard about. I can travel there. Initially, I was thinking of going with Anthony, but I think that is going to be very costly because then thinking about the mobility for him will be a bit difficult. So I can go there myself and then take photos, videos, record the history about her, write certain things, get some data about them, of course, with the consent of the parent. Then when I come back, I can, in fact, when I'm there, I can organize, make sure that somewhere in the evening where I can reach out to Emeka and a couple of you, you have a chat with them as well. Then I come back, we create a small video around that, okay? Then the measurements I'll have taken from there, we can see how we can collaborate with the African experts. I am sure there are few people who wouldn't mind to actually contribute something small for Mundi and his team to actually build those 2 wheelchairs for these 2 children. Then once we finish with that, we go to the government, like I mentioned, to get the process approved. Once that is done, then the delivery of it is something that we can do a live stream around the same, taking these 2 wheelchairs to these 2 children. And then the process of all the wheelchair being built from scratch all the way should also be documented so that we end up with the second documentary on how the build-up was done. Then finally, we can combine the 2 to come up with one, which then now we can leverage in the network of the African experts through the mobile app, where now people can come in and decide to help wherever they want to do that. And this will be a very good case in point, for next year, Emeka and Sylvester, when you're talking about UNGA. You can show the difference. When you really think about the solutions of these SDGs according to the United Nations, back in Africa, you log into any website for the corporates, you'll see them writing there, SDGs. But if you ask the people working there what SDGs are, none of them are even aware of what it is. So we're just doing things for the sake of it, but there's no real impact. As a matter of fact, United Nations needs to reverse this model. It should not start from the corporates. So this is one of the things we can point out and tell them, this thing needs to go deep into the schools if we really intend to create the difference. Because once kids understand these things, they just don't do it for the sake. They actually implement what they read. And that guarantees the future that they're going to change how things are normally done, okay? So that's a summary of the way forward. And just to mention to you guys, Monday and Tuesday, Emeka is someone who runs very fast, and I think I want to pick out that from him. So if it's doable, I am ready to move. If I can get the bus tomorrow, it's from Nairobi to there, it's quite far. So I'll end up reaching on Monday morning. I can sleep for 2 hours, then wake up, go to this family, spend with them that day, take the videos and all that, sleep there, then I can take the bus on Tuesday morning, arrive at night back on Tuesday. That is, I'll just leave it for comments from people and what you guys think about.
Yeah.
So those are the process.
Yeah.
Now I'm open to any suggestions, questions, and answers, please.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for your time.
Hi. Did he just run up? I wanted to have you guys talk to Kevin Long, who was just here a minute ago, and I think he just jumped off.
Oh, Kevin.
Let me see. I think he probably waited, but I'm just sending him a message. He'll probably say something. But Kevin is he will tell you about himself, but he knows about the importance of having a wheelchair because of how it changed his life, and I wanted him to also talk to Anthony just in case if he needed someone to mentor him also, and just how you also just encourage someone to keep going because the journey is still far, but if you encourage someone, it gives them the extra boost to say something, to talk, to move, to explore. make changes, right? So I want to know, I don't know if Kevin is here yet, but as we wait for Kevin, I think he'll probably be joining soon. Sylvester, do you mind saying a few things? Oh, okay, sorry.
No, I
Sylvester,
don't. I
okay.
don't mind. Yeah. Actually, thank you very much for being here, Anthony. Thank you, Andrew. One thing that I just want to add is that sometimes I think practical experience, beats knowledge and general understanding a million times. Oh, thankfully, Kevin is back here.
Kevin is here.
I'm so like, my eyes just opened to a fact I have never considered. You see, when Anthony says that the wheelchair is actually part of your identity, it's like the suit you wear. So, before you experience it, how I see it as nothing beyond mobility, but it turns out that now there's a lot of thought that needs to go into this. And I really like the model, because considering that Anthony is also conscious of the fact that this wheelchair is part of your identity. It's something that contributes to your self-esteem and even your general emotional feeling. You can imagine the kind of thought he's going to put into these devices when he's designing them when they are bespoke, they're tailor-made. It is going to take the person's character, the person's desires into account. And I think it's something that, as Andrew said, it's really going to really impact on how these people perform, even on their daily duties, how they interact and how they relate. I think it's an incredible story. And I think, it's always great hearing from Kevin. So I
Kevin,
want
right?
to pass it back to you, Emeka, and see how you will steer that. But thank you guys for thinking about that.
Thank you, Sylvester. So Kevin, I want to talk to Kevin real quick. Kevin, so we have Anthony here, and Anthony is actually a handicapped gentleman who is building, designing, and trying to get the funds to make sure he designs custom made. And we are hoping through the work of African experts that will come to life. From a gentleman who has experienced this before, Kevin, can you talk to Anthony and have some words of encouragement to him, and let him know that his journey is valid, and it is worth knowing that some other people experience it like you. So Anthony, are you there to also talk and see Kevin so that Kevin could see you?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah.
Hey, Anthony.
Okay.
Hello, everyone. I think the last time we were on, I shared that I had been back in 2017, had been in a motorcycle accident, and legs broke, almost lost my left hand, and went through a series of. I've had 13 surgeries. I'm supposed to have 2 more, and I'm done. I don't know if I'll get to the 15. I'm just done with tables. I move okay. Good days and bad days, of which today is rough. That's why between that and the client obligation, I'm late, so I apologize. But yeah, man, I just want to be encouraged to encourage you. God, doesn't allow these things to come to us without passing through His grace. Otherwise, you would be shielded from it. But a lot of times, it's to make us stronger. I don't know if I would change anything um, if I had to do all over again, just because of the person that I am, and that it has made me. Um, so yes, much encouragement to you. I think this is a great program, and anytime you want to reach out, man, I'm very available. And I'm very busy, but very available for support.
Yeah. He said something about a wheelchair is like a suit. I've never heard that before, because it's a presentation to the world, right? That presents you. When you have a clean, nice suit on, it gives you that confidence that wherever you are, you can showcase who you are without any lag of, confidence, right? Never heard that before, but this is it's a good way to look at it, and I think that he has a lot to do, and Andrew is here trying to make sure he guides him in a more international way, because he's in Kenya doing this, but I believe he doesn't know how it affects the whole world on what he's doing, because we are all watching. We're thousands of miles away, but we are watching on what he's doing. So we need his improvement, his work to get done in a way that we could use that to show that, look, instead of waiting for European companies to do the wheelchair for you and bring it to you, you can actually by yourself create your own customized wheelchair and stamp your name on it. And that's what they plan to do. There's been do you mind real quick, Andrew, showing him a prototype of what has been designed so far, or what the design is, so that Kevin could kind of get an understanding of why the emphasis on building is really important, right? So do you want to explain a little bit on this, Andrew, or Anthony, do you want to talk a little bit on this, just for 1 minute, so Kevin can understand what's going on?
Anthony, please go ahead.
All right. So this chair is made. First of all, I forgot to mention that when designing this wheelchair, I put into consideration that most of people in Kenya use public mean of transportation, the matatus. So we need a wheelchair that can be folded easily so that it can be transported with you. Because the bulky the wheelchair it is, the harder to get to move around with the public mean of transportation. So these kind of wheelchairs are meant to be foldable easily, and the wheels are removable. So when you're traveling, you can easily fold it, and can be put some call it trunk, other call it boot, or even the carrier. Who knows? For those who knows about the carriers. So these features, we are trying to make sure that we use materials that are strong and that they can withstand our terrains, so that you can use the wheelchair for a little bit while before replacing it. And most of the parts in these wheelchairs, we have made sure that they will be available. Like the wheels are the one that are used in normal bikes. So when the wheels wear out, you can go and get a new one from a local store. And we are trying to make sure also that the wheelchair is beautiful. That's the key point for me, because I want my wheelchair to represent me. When people see me and see my wheelchair, they see a beautiful thing, a piece of work at once. Yeah.
Very good. Do you have any questions for him, Kevin?
Just before Kevin goes, please, I'd like to add something on what Anthony has mentioned. Kevin, please look at this. This is a case I got this in the afternoon, and I want you to see this lady, this child. She was born with this condition where the hands and the neck and the legs can't move, but intellectually she's okay. And when I was reading this, you actually came into my mind, and I'll tell you why. The reason is because of AI. So in my mind, I was starting to visualize a mentorship or crafting a way whereby we can move Anthony and his team to start thinking of futuristic mobility. If Elon Musk can build cars that can drive themselves, I foresee a situation where AI can be used to help this child, even just through eyes, to give instructions to this wheelchair to improve so much of his life. So that came into my mind, and I thought I was going to pop it up to you just to hear what your thoughts are. Thank you.
Yeah, sure thing. And that's not a bad idea. One of the things I was going to ask is, do you have a spec sheet for your prototype? So when we talk about spec sheet, we want to talk about and think about the maximum weight capacity. what is the maximum? Because in shopping for, once I got to the point to where I could walk, but I needed to have an electric wheelchair so that I could get around in the data centers, because I can walk, but I can't walk long distances. So for instance, our Fort Worth, from one end to one end in one building, is 10 football fields. Well, we've got 6 buildings. There's no way in the world I can go and do a site visit and hit all 6 buildings walking. So I had to have an electric wheelchair. One of the concerns was weight capacity. And so when you for whatever your prototype is, you want to make sure that, as I believe Anthony alluded to, these are some of the things that when you're in a wheelchair that you think about. Will it hold me? Can I use it on public transportation? So we want to have the specs. How wide is it? How tall is it? How much does it weigh? Um, um, how much does it, what are the specs when folded? So you want your width. Another thing that I was concerned about being a big guy was, what was the seat width? Because I'm a big guy. I know some of the seat widths that I tried, they were built for not guys like me. So those things, the spec sheet is very important, because then I also wanted to know, okay, when I fly, how much is the total weight? How much is, of course, this one won't have batteries, right? Not yet. But so once you get, and the reason I say once you get your spec sheet, because that's going to be very important when you begin prompting with AI. You want to be able to make sure that you can give it as much information as possible, and find, if you know, and find spec sheets that have features on others. So the more information that you give about wheelchair, about accessibility, about your customer, then you can begin to do the customized prompts, because it will use all of the information as source documents when you craft your question to give you that better customized answer. So the long and short answer to the question is, absolutely we could use AI. But I think we need to make sure that we do the groundwork first, so that we have good source information. Hope that made sense.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, that was really, and that's why we have gentlemen like Kevin to just bring out sections that you probably didn't even think about. So Anthony, do you understand what he's asking you for? The spec sheet specifications about the length of everything, the weight, what kind of people can he carry? Can he carry
Yes.
bigger people? Can he carry smaller people so that it doesn't become too wobbly? Like, do you have a spec sheet where everything has been written down so that you cut according to customers' preference, right? So that you make sure that you are not just designing one size fits all, because that, no, it doesn't work like that, right? If it's going to be an international product, it has to be able to fit different people, right? You understand, correct?
Yeah, to answer that question is, this wheelchair, as I said, has to be custom fit.
Right.
Before producing the wheelchair, the user has to be taken measure. They have to be assessed so that we can know their waist, the length of their legs, whether they use the lower back or the high back, so that when you're making that wheelchair, it can fit to that person. Another thing you have to understand is that a wheelchair is like a shoe. The smaller it is, it will be uncomfortable and you'll be able to use it. The bigger it is, it will also be uncomfortable to you. It has to fit you exactly. That's why you have to be assessed before being given the wheelchair, and before your wheelchair being custom made for you. There's no specific size for our wheelchairs. The user has to be assessed before being given a wheelchair. Yeah.
Interesting. Good. Okay. Okay.
And do you have that assessment documented?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So I think that that would be something that also could be shared, because in part of this journey, everyone who is going to want to invest wants to know, hey, this is the specs, this is what we're dealing with, this is, how long does it take to create one? How long does it take to distribute it? You know, how soon can people get one? You know, there are a lot of things, but we need everything to be documented because we're in the world of AI, right? You want all your information to be out there as quick as possible, and as soon as somebody orders it, boom, it goes right to them. Versus, you know, if we're waiting for European world, the westernized world to give us the wheelchairs, they do it probably when they want to, you know, and everybody's not going to get it, but in this customized way, and it gets the logistics much quicker for everyone. So I agree. Is there anything else we want to jump in? Oh, Kevin, go ahead, please.
Just a question, and gosh, I just lost it. That happened after 50. Um, uh, who is your target audience? That was the question. Who is your target audience?
I think Andrew could answer this one.
So Kevin, with regards to the initiative, we're basically targeting, let's say, 17 years and below. So we're looking at primary and high school students whose parents can't afford. That is for the initiative per se. And what will happen once we start this is that I've requested Anthony and his team, the margins they're supposed to have of this is just to pay them off. No, they're working, they're putting the time. But then because the company will be building others, any person who's coming outside this framework of who we are targeting, they can have different varieties where they can now increase the margin. So in fact, when I was having with them a discussion yesterday, the long term is to actually solve anything to do with mobility. So not just wheelchairs, we're talking about even those who are blind. That's the direction they're going. So they're targeting any age group that you're looking at. But for this specific initiative is kids in primary and high school.
Okay, good deal. Can I act like y'all? We all got thick skin. Can I act like a investor? Because if I was investing, I'll have some very pointed questions.
Please do, because
How much does it cost?
Go ahead. It's part of the learning.
How much does it cost? I'm an investor, and my second question is how much it's going to how much is it going to cost you to make? How much is it going to cost me to buy? And then
in dollars,
what type of initial investment will it take to get it from here to market? So that was 3 questions, and I'll repeat them. How much does it cost you to make? How much is it going to cost me to buy? And then how much of an initial investment will it take to get it from here to market?
Okay, I'll answer that question for you, Kevin. Now, if you heard what I talked about, solving this problem with these 2 pillars. So we're moving out of the problem itself. So we are coming into those who are currently doing it. You heard me emphasize a lot about knowledge, skills, and all that. Mm-hmm. So in this program where we are partnering with African experts, we're actually going to create a program where they go for 4 months.
As an investor, you lost me already.
Oh, wait, I know where you're heading to, but I want to explain to you that I'll come back. Yeah. Simply put, we don't have those figures for now.
Okay. Why is that? That's very fair. That's very fair. Yeah. That's very fair. Very fair. Yeah. I think that's important. I think that's a very, very important piece. How much does it cost? Is it going to cost you to make? How much is it going to cost to buy? And you may not have all of those, but when it comes, because at some point it's going to take money to get this to market. And either we invest or we have that. However we come about that, those are going to be the big drivers. Is how much does it cost you to make? How much does it cost to get to market? And then what type of financial investment is it really going to take to execute?
Right. In dollars. Yeah.
Yes. And yeah. So I just want to kind of throw that out just to get our wheels turning.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. Sylvester,
yeah, sure. Oh,
Yeah. Just to give an assist following Kevin's question. In fact, the way Kevin put it, and the way, when he told Andrew, I'm an investor. Remember, you could be sitting with somebody like Kevin or Larry. This guy has like 2 minutes to make a decision.
Mm-hmm.
So he asks you what is the cost. Is $100. We can sell for $300. It will take us $50 to get it to the market. Boom, boom, boom. They're making it. Okay, we will come back to that. So I think the work we have to do, it's at the right stage. I will have a Zoom call with Andrew and Anthony, and I will show you guys how these things are built. Fortunately, now I've built for 3 different new products. Even the specialty medical bed for incontinence, and that I built the entire proposal end to end, from the costs to everything. So it's something I do severally with my background in accounting and strategy. I do that, and what is asking is super, super important, whether it's just on the initiative end or for profit. Actually, as you guys were talking, it already came to my mind that there has to be very clear distinction, 2 lines of production.
Yes.
There will be the mass market and then the bespoke market.
Yes.
That's the only way this thing becomes sustainable. So next time we talk about it, Kevin, you will have a lot of questions to ask me, because I shall have asked them a lot of questions. And then I'll clarify it for them. Okay. All right.
Good documentation too. Documentation is very important too. So I think with that, we could jump into our next topic. Or did you have anything else you wanted to say, Andrew?
I guess for me, that would be it. The point I just wanted to emphasize is part of the training is what Kevin has just asked, because these are people outside fresh from graduates. And we know very well, even on MBAs in these countries, they don't teach people to be entrepreneurs. They teach people how to manage other people's business. So in the training, all that will be covered as part of the process. That's how you change the mindsets for them. Thank you for that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you for what you guys are doing. And I think for our last segment, we want to just jump into just mentioning something briefly, and we'll probably attack it next week. And that will be about the teacher program. And I will elaborate on it. I'm sorry, my daughter's here. Junior, can you come and take Wambui? Sorry, she's here. She's trying to enjoy some live session. Everybody, come on. All right. Bye bye. So, okay. So sorry, everyone. Anyway, so we have a program that I have spoken extensively with Sylvester, and we spoke a little bit to Andrew about it, because as you know, Andrew is our main liaison in Africa, right? So Kevin, this is what's happening. There is a need for teachers in the United States, because as you have more people coming in from different countries, right? The population of the children has increased, and some teachers are retiring. So now they want people to come from English-speaking countries where they could now continue an English-speaking program. As you know, Africa, most of Africa, lots of parts of Africa was colonized by the British. So, basically they were forced to speak English. So we need to be able to start bringing in teachers in here because of the requirements they have. We've talked about a lot of ways to do it. There's a system going on right now, but we are going to also add an incentive. And what it is it costs a lot to come into this country and get stabilized, as you know, Kevin. Inflation is real. People have to be able to move around. So if you bring somebody into this country, they have to have mobility. Uber is expensive, so you might want to have a car or just a means of transport. Shelter, right? If you came in here with no pay, you need shelter. So we are going to do some work on sponsoring some people to come in, and Andrew is going to help us on that process. It is going to be about quality candidates, right? Because if we're going to invest all these thousands of dollars on these people, we need to make sure that there are people who are going to come, retain their truthfulness to the United States and be loyal. We don't want people who will come in here and try to misbehave or do anything that may make the government look at us as being unprofessional. So it's a process we have to go through, because our well-being is also that we try to help us as many people who have the skills come to deliver the skills, because a lot of people have the skills but they don't have the opportunity yet because of what has unfortunately happened in that country. So in this place, they want quality teachers. We are going to give them quality teachers. As you know, teachers pay all over the world. It's not a lot. So you can imagine what it is like in Africa. So we want to be able to sponsor them. So I'm just saying this because I want you to know what's coming up next week. We are going to dive down into how we're going to do it. It's not going to be for everybody, obviously. Like I said, for quality people where we know there will be real return on investment, we are going to make that emphasis on making sure they could come. Because these guys, if you took a trip to Africa, you will see that some of these teachers are so good at what they do. You won't believe why they're not here. Seriously, I've experienced it so many times, and I'm like, these guys could teach better than anybody else I know. Anyway, let me not over.
How long is the sponsorship?
It's like pretty much just to come, housing, and that's it. So it wouldn't take more than Sylvester, we're looking at maybe a couple months, right? Because they have to get that first pay. Because once they get that first pay, then that should be fine. So the sponsorship will involve paying for the exam, which is about $300, flying them here, which is about maybe $1,200 to $1,500, finding them shelter, an apartment or somewhere to stay. That's probably going to be like we'll put it at about $2,000. You give them something to be able to buy their groceries, maybe pick up a cell phone or get a new phone line, because they have to be very active once they come into this place, because they're really well needed. They're going to be the mentors of all our children, right? The teachers that you see, those are the ones who mentor the kids from regular homes, from broken homes, from all walks of life, right? So I think that an estimated number will be easily $10,000 per person. We'll try to see if we can make it less than that. But again, this has to be quality. I see some people asking questions.
Actually, the estimated amount could be up to 10,000, 10 to 12, but about half of that will be a loan, not like a grant. The parts you grant will be just basically the critical parts, but even part of the money that they use to get their first car, that will be a loan, like the down payment, which would be very big. And then there are financial institutions that you can partner with that will give them the loan just with the contract from the independent school district. So it is a long process, but we will explain it further to you. Yeah. And it's a worthy process because actually most of that money, almost all of it, is reimbursable by the school district in a way, just depending on how you negotiate it, because you are hiring on their behalf, really. It's not you hiring your employee.
Quick question. There is a question for you, Andrew. So someone is asking, how do you identify the real victims and reach out to them? That's the first question.
Thanks for that question. So, like I said, there's going to be a questionnaire. That will be the first process where you fill out, then you send it to our offices. So we'll have certain mechanism we're going to check out. we'll go through that to actually ensure that that is a genuine case. If we're not very confident about that, we can even send one of ours to go there and actually confirm that, because we know how things are work here, you know. And if you let one person just slide in.
Sorry to interrupt you, Andrew. Just back. You know, in your question, you have gone to the next step, the second step. I think what this person is looking for is, this person does not, you don't know this person at all.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the process of just first identifying, how do they know that there's Dreamers Club that can help them? Like the person who sent this message, did they reach you through the website? Did they find this information through word of mouth? How does that happen?
Oh, then I guess that's about marketing, because this is where the app comes in, because within the app, it's going to be a community now of everyone involved.
Right.
And
so
because you're touching, yes, there's an app.
Okay.
So when you think that you're actually plugging in all counties, if you just get one child, that word is going to spread very fast.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Next question is, do you help the vulnerable family only?
We need to start from somewhere. And so where we want to start from is those who really need that help. As this thing grows, we can start categorizing them depending on, you know, the experience we go through, because it's very important to hear what the feedback is coming, and the best feedback you can get in anything you're doing is through the market. So we'll start with the most vulnerable ones and then see what the outcome is going to be. You know, for starting, we just have these ideas, but the market is going to dictate how this thing is going to shape up going forward. Yeah.
Sylvester, I think this question is for you. For the teachers who you are talking about, how long do they get to stay in the country?
I think for teachers, there are two categories. There's the exchange program, that's usually 5 years. Then there's the H-1B program, that is a green card. They can stay as long as they want. Yeah. I think the reason people go for the 5-year exchange program, like the one we spoke to the professor about, if you remember, Emeka, is because it processes faster. Because quote unquote, it's a work visa as opposed to immigrant visa. But so I think both programs are there. It just depends on which one is the person going for. Yeah. But bottom line, yeah, 5 years minimum, and the other one can be permanent residence. Yeah.
It's just that's a longer one. So if somebody's trying to leave Africa within the next 6 months, so the H-1B visa is the best one to apply for, right? Go through the process. Okay, I think that's what we have. Everything else, I think people are just happy to be part of this. Anyway, so Kevin, did you want to say anything on any of the topics we had going on?
Not really. Just I just think continuing to press forward. You know, it's a lift for everyone, but the rewards are incredible. I was thinking this morning. I was looking back over some old pictures of my children, all of which are almost grown, and I was just thinking about the fact that I don't know. I never got to meet my grandparents, any of the men, my grandfathers on either side. And I was thinking about legacy. And I was thinking about in 3 to 4 generations, for some of us, they won't live in your house. They won't know your name. They won't have your picture on the wall.
Yeah.
That's just the way it is in reality. Think about it. Go back 3 generations or 4 generations and tell me how much you know about them.
Yeah.
And you may know, But that's because you were inquisitive. Most of your family probably doesn't know. So the best thing that we can leave, if you want to live forever, I do, but not in the casual sense. I want to live forever by leaving a legacy. And that's how you can live it forever. The legacy. Think about it, Kellogg. Think about some of these household names.
Yeah.
These companies, they were family companies.
You are. Yep.
If you think about some of the major companies and major brands, they were started out as family companies. They started out with a vision, with a mission, and they drove it, and it became a legacy. And now it's going on. It's perpetual. I guess that's what I have to contribute is let's keep continuing on what we're doing and continuing leaving individual and collective legacies.
Amen. Amen. I like that. So with that, we'll wrap up for today, and next week we'll kick off talking about basically the teachers program, and we'll also give Kevin a space to talk about his knowledge and what he wants the new generation to think about AI and how important that is to us, because that's the future. If you guys know, and Kevin, I don't know if you want to do a quick highlight, that jobs are being taken away from normal human beings to robots, AI, right? Down to the daily living, the music you hear, driving your car, almost eating. Everything it is going to happen. So it's not about it might happen. No, it is. Do you want to do like a 10-second highlight on AI, Kevin?
Start the timer. So I promise you this, AI will not take your job. A person that knows how to use or leverage AI will take your job. Think about those words, let them sink in, and then research two things, AGI and quantum computing. Google it, put it in whatever your chat GPT is, but learn about it so that you're not afraid about it, so that you will know the true narrative versus some of the other narratives. That's what I would leave with you regarding AI, quantum computing, and AGI.
And AGI. I hope some people are taking notes. We'll address this next week. All right, everyone. Please have a great, safe weekend, and we'll talk to you guys soon.